here speaking tonight on behalf of the Buffalo River Coalition. That includes the Buffalo River Watershed Alliance, the Ozark Society, the Arkansas Canoe Club, and the National Parks Conservation Association. We oppose the approval of this modification for the following reasons. ADEQ is circumventing state regulations by allowing C&H hog farms to add new acreage without modifying its own nutrient management plan, thus avoiding a reopening of its own permit to public scrutiny. This series of questionable ownership transfers and modifications amounts to a permitting scheme and should not be allowed. The owner-operator of EC Farms, as shown on the permit, does not own or operate any part of the operation other than perhaps the erroneously issued permit itself. Due to a chain of errors allowed by ADEQ, Permit 3540WR6 and all leases associated with it should be voided, and modification of this permit 3540WR7 should be denied. In April 2012, C&H Hog Barn received approval to add some 480 acres of fields, even though there was no increase in the number of animals and only a small portion of the existing acreage was being utilized. Why lease 480 more acres when the existing acreage was more than needed and closure of the facility was soon to follow? Sometime between May and November 2013, all animals were permanently removed, the waste ponds were emptied, and the facility no longer functioned as an animal feeding operation. In March 2014, CNC received a certification of closure by NRCS, and all operations ceased. There was no physical operation remaining at the time of closure. However, the owners chose not to terminate the permit, and it remained active. In February 2015, permit 3540WR5 was transferred from CNC to EC Farms and became permit 3540WR6, a no-discharge permit to, quote, store and apply swine waste, end quote, even though there was no waste to apply nor any waste storage facilities. County records show there was no corresponding change in ownership of the property itself, which still belongs to the owners of C&H and is actually provided as collateral for a loan to C&H. Records show only vacant buildings remain. EC Farms does not hold a deed to the property, nor is there any record of a lease. EC Farms is not the owner-operator of a facility as stated in the permit. There is no facility. Current leases for application fields, quote, allow EC Farms to land to apply waste from his or her operation. EC Farms has no operation, no land, and no waste of its own to apply. These leases do not allow for the application of waste from C&H or any other facility. All leases associated with permit 3540WR6 should be voided. In summary, we contend that ADEQ must deny approval of this modification because 1, the ownership transfer under 3540WR5 was improper. Number 2, the leases included in the site management plan are not valid. Number 3, a separate permit is required under Regulations 5.601, which states, quote, a separate permit may be issued for a land application site, end quote. This regulation, which spells out in detail the requirements for a separate permit, was clearly intended to address the situation for which ADEQ is instead approving a permit modification. A modification is not appropriate, and instead ADEQ should have required EC Farms to request a separate permit for land application only. However, a separate permit would be de facto a new permit, and under the current moratorium, issuing a new permit to EC Farms is prohibited. Based on these concerns, Buffalo River Coalition respectfully asks that ADEQ deny this modification of permit 3540WR7, and we further request that its precursor, 3540WR6, and all land use contracts associated with it be voided. Thank you.